Hello and welcome from Budapest. This is Hungary Reports from Public Media M1, bringing you the latest news from Hungary and the Carpathian Basin in English. I'm Árpád Szőci. Great that you can be with us. Tuesday saw Hungary implement new restrictions at border crossings because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Hungarians returning from abroad must undergo a medical examination at the border and then go into quarantine for 14 days, or to avoid that, have 2 coronavirus tests taken 2 days apart. Most foreigners are not allowed into the country except for exceptional cases. The restrictions do not apply to the transport of goods.
Workers struggled at Hegyeshalom border crossing to be ready with everything by midnight. Containers needed for health inspections were put into place, as well as segregation tents. Starting at midnight on Tuesday, police stopped all cars crossing the border, checking them and alerting occupants to the new regulations. The new epidemiological regulations, which include closing the borders, came into effect in Hungary on September 1st. Small border crossings aren't even open at the moment. According to the new rules, Hungarian citizens and their family members arriving home need to undergo a medical examination. But regardless of the outcome, they need to go into a 14-day quarantine, which can be shortened if the person has 2 negative PCR tests done 2 days apart. According to the government ruling, foreigners, with a few exceptions, are not allowed to enter the country. Permissions to do so can only be granted by police. It's important to note that even with permission, you still have to do the 2 weeks of quarantine. Foreigners are allowed to transit through the country after a health inspection through a so-called humanitarian corridor, if they aren't suspected of being sick. Another of these regulations state that Hungarian minorities from neighboring countries, as well as the major countrymen from these nations, are allowed to enter Hungary, but only within a 30-kilometer radius from the border and only for 24 hours. The regulations have no impact on freight traffic. According to plans, the measures put in place will be in effect for 30 days.
Basic relations between Hungary and Slovenia are better than ever. That's what Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán told public media TV station M1 in Bled, Slovenia, where he was negotiating with Slovenia's Prime Minister. The Hungarian leader said that they were working on long-term strategic and cooperative agreements. He also added that Slovenia thanked Hungary for its assistance during the first wave of COVID-19 when it got humanitarian aid.
At the time of the outbreak of the coronavirus epidemic, Hungary was able to provide help for its neighbors, most in trouble, and at the time Slovenia was in fairly big trouble. Therefore, Hungary helped them out. Slovenia is a grateful nation and did not forget this. That's why they held a ceremony today to mark the assistance Hungary provided. I was also awarded a decree, but they didn't really give it to me, they gave it to Hungary and the Hungarian people, because while we ourselves were in trouble, we didn't forget about helping our neighbors, if we could.
You can apply again to the government's investment support program, said Hungary's Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister. Péter Szijjártó pointed out that they've been able to save 120,000 jobs with the help of the initiative. More than 474 million euros were available during the first round, and of that, 50 million were left over and can now be applied for in a new round. In fact, in just a quarter of an hour, almost 100 companies did exactly that.
Of course, we'll assess these applications as quickly as we can, so that Hungarian companies can get the needed funds for their investments as quickly as possible, and so that we can help protect the jobs of Hungarian people more efficiently.
The school year in Hungary began under special circumstances. It had been 6 months since students could return to the classroom. And that's exactly what almost 1.5 million finally did on Tuesday. Both pupils and teachers alike eagerly awaited this moment after being forced to do online learning and teaching because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The virus still poses a danger, but schools are ready with strict guidelines and rules. That includes everyone keeping their distance and using disinfectants, among other measures.
Students arrived wearing masks at this elementary school in Balaton-Szemes. The beginning of the year ceremony was held differently than usual. Students sat as far away as possible from one another. Only those in first grade were allowed to be accompanied by their parents. Students said they've never been so eager to start the school year as they are now. Most haven't personally seen each other or their teachers for 6 months. Nearly 1,200,000 students began the school year. However, this time the beginning of the school year also implies being informed about the coronavirus as well as preventative measures. 2 weeks ago, the directors and principals of kindergartens and schools received detailed instructions on preventing the further spread of the coronavirus. They can decide on arrival and leaving times and can monitor people keeping a safe distance in public spaces. And all institutions are cleaned more now. At some places, they've discontinued having students line up when the school bell rings, and during breaks, only one class at a time can be in the recess or relaxation area. Students said that they were prepared for these rules and regulations. We are grown-ups. It is our responsibility to abide by the rules, one of them said. The government is doing everything it can in order to ensure that the beginning of this school year commences in the usual way, even if it is under different circumstances. Namely in terms of physical and financial safety. The State Secretary for Family and Youth Affairs already spoke of this in a video uploaded to the social media page of the government. Katalin Novak mentioned that the family allowance arrived earlier. In addition to this, every student will receive their textbooks for free. We are continually expanding the resources available for free meal options. So many children in nursery, kindergarten, or elementary schools can continue to benefit from meals that are free or reduced fare, Katalin Novak said. This assistance amounts to just over €280 worth of savings per family.
Hungary was hit by severe storms on Monday. Trees were uprooted and hydro poles were downed, leaving entire communities without electricity. Budapest was also hit hard, as was Hungary's rail service.
A prefab garage disappeared from the yard of this home in Bélapátfalva. Strong winds carried the metal structure to the neighboring plot. The owner said that they ran out of the house when they heard a big crash. The kitchen of the kindergarten was damaged by a large tree when it was uprooted and fell on the building. Power is off for hours in this settlement. The residents joined in cleaning up the area. The entire roof structure burned down after lightning struck this home in the settlement of Ásótalom in the county of Csongrácsanád. The slated roof, as well as the reed underneath it, caught fire in minutes. A large number of firefighters arrived at the scene. They halted the further spread of the flames with 3 water jets. They retrieved a gas tank from the house. Fortunately, the fire didn't reach it. Trees were uprooted and cables were torn down because of the stormy winds on Tuesday at dawn in Kunfehértó. A fallen acacia trunk damaged a few graves in the cemetery. Fallen branches damaged cars as well as homes. Power service stalled for a long time in the village. The storm hit the capital in the late evening hours. In some places, strong winds broke hydro poles in two. Traffic was stopped on Andrássy Avenue on account of a fallen tree. Hungarian disaster management was alerted more than 100 times in Budapest. By noon, our firefighters basically completed their work, Máté Kisdi said. Fallen trees affected train traffic on train tracks. Overhead cables were damaged in several places, resulting in considerable delays during the afternoon hours.
The amount of coronavirus genome has increased in the sewage water in many major cities in Hungary, including in the southern part of the capital, Budapest. That's what the National Health Center reported. It pointed out that such increases occur 4 to 10 days before a rise in cases of people testing positive for COVID-19. The center also asks people to remain disciplined, respect travel restrictions, and maintain hygiene. Hungary's public railway MÁV has distributed 10,000 face masks to passengers at Budapest's 3 major train stations. The company wants to call people's attention to the fact that if you are feverish or have cold-like symptoms, you should not travel by train. It's compulsory to wear a face mask on trains, which train employees regularly remind passengers of on public address systems. And that's all for now from Hungary Reports, but we're back live again every night at about 11:20 p.m. Central European Time, and you can always catch us in repeats and online as well. Please stay tuned if you can. We also have programs in German, Russian, and Chinese. Thanks very much for watching, and viszontlátásra.